Oh, that is actually started recording.
I don't think it
Recording and.
Recording has started.
Okay, there we go. All right, so I do not have March minutes that were turned in for approval to be distributed, so apologies for that. I'll try to follow up and get those. Reorganization of the board. It's time to reorganize our board for the recreation.
It's been 2 years
It's
for the most of us.
Yep. And I mean, we revoted last year for the same. So chair, co-chair, secretary are all open for discussion and nomination at this time. If anybody would like to put that out there.
What was Kelly doing?
Kelly was the secretary.
So we definitely need one of those.
Yes.
Can I unnominate myself? I am not good at the recording of minutes.
You wouldn't want me to do it either.
Yeah, I'm just not. I've done it a handful of times at work and it's atrocious.
I literally do it for my job and I literally don't have time to do it for my job right now. I actually have someone filling in for me, so I have no capacity whatsoever.
Hi.
I already do it for another organization. I could do it, but if I can't be here for a meeting, somebody else will have to do it.
Can we set it up?
Yeah,
Does it have to?
That's an easy, like, if you can't be here as a board, like, we can support each other and say, like,
Yeah.
this needs to be done. And I mean, honestly, even as simple as like, this was just, you know,
Bullet
honestly,
points.
just the fact that we had the discussion and the fact that, you know, board didn't approve such a thing, like that's kind of what we're looking for to be reflected. That way, if anybody wants to know kind of what's going on in the Recreation Commission, like they can have some idea of discussions and decisions that are being made. And especially like that can be of service to Kevin's needs as well. Like if he says that, well, we discussed it at the Recreation Commission meeting on, you know, April 18th, and the Recreation Commission voted and said they wanted this, so that's what I'm going with.
We actually just used Recreation Commission minutes about when we all talked about Summerton. And a few people chimed in about, oh, EVS, yes, they may go here, but if they live in Canaan and they're from EVS, then they have to sign up with Canaan. And we actually showed them that, hey, my direct supervisor was in there. The commission all kind of agreed that, you know, yes, it's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
Sure.
so it does help.
So I nominate Amy on the basis that we will pick up the slack when she is not able to do it.
And I know I will be late for the next meeting, but I will be here.
I second with the vote of support for needs as they arise, for sure.
If I have paper, I can start. I didn't bring paper. I can start tonight because Kelly's. No, I don't know if she's coming.
Do you want me to go see if?
Amy, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No, it's easier when you just.
Or wait, is there
I-
really a book sitting right there that says The Art of Taking Minutes?
Okay, that's hilarious.
Oh,
We will get you a notebook because it looks like we.
I at least have this. There's at least something.
Staples.
So you're nominated by Matt, seconded by me.
Nope,
Everyone voted unanimously. So chair and vice chair. Good sir. I would like to nominate Matt to be the chair of the Recreation Commission.
I'll second that. How much Jamie know?
Nope.
I abstain from the vote. Do I have to accept the I accept the nomination.
I was just gonna say, you do need to like
All
formally.
right,
like,
I formally
you
accept,
it?
I
Okay.
accept the nomination.
All right. And a vote, all those in favor?
I
Aye.
I nominate Emily as vice chair. Do I hear a second?
And I will abstain.
Do you accept the nomination?
I accept the nomination.
Great. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Take it away, Matt.
Great. Oh wait, that's effective like right now?
So Kelly would need to be taken off of the board.
Yeah.
since
she has expressed that she is not interested
Okay.
in,
renewing.
her.
Just making
membership.
sure so I can
Yeah.
update the site.
So
Yeah.
this would be the first meeting with her not as a part of it.
Right, so this is the first meeting with her not as a part of it, and this is the first meeting with the reorganization of the board.
And that will be updated on the website tomorrow.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first order of business that we can actually get to after that is rec director updates.
Summer camp sold out pretty much except for 5 spots, and
Nice.
3 of them opened up today because they got scholarships to Whaleback, so they want to see what that's like.
Sure.
Which I was totally okay with. They're pretty much all infield kids.
I was gonna ask that,
I'm-
like, what the,
So, Canaan and them, guess I should use Canaan. The rest of the Mascoma Valley does not get an opportunity until this Friday.
oh, wow,
So
so,
if these 5 spots, I'm gonna put out there that there's a couple spots still left. If they all get taken by Enfield, it is currently open for the wait list for Mascoma Valley people to put their name on the wait list, because you can't restrict that to a certain time. The wait list is just open to anyone and everyone. So I do have a few Canaan parents that are like, oh, I want to be first on the list, so they are signed up there. I'm starting to see some orange trickle in, which I've never seen before. So yeah, that's that.
Question, when you open up for the rest of the Mascoma Valley, do people from the rest of the Mascoma Valley on the wait list come first, or is it anybody that signs up once it opens?
So I'm going to be here before it starts, and if they are open, I think it's only right that the wait list gets released. And then if it fills it, if no one gets it in the first 5 minutes, then it automatically goes to the wait list and it fills in those spots.
that's how it's set up to run, or that's how you?
That's how it's set up to run.
All right. That's
So
Have you gotten
Sounds-
any
yeah.
negative pushback about the fact that it was open to Enfield residents before anybody
Yes.
else?
yep, I had a few, but I just, like I said, I referenced what we discussed here with Ed Present, that because Enfield residents pay their property taxes, they are technically paying for the recreation department and myself included in that. So it's only right that they get ahead. Someone did say, well, we pay a different price than the residents, but when Ed figured it out, we actually figured out it should actually be $40 to $50 in difference. So we think that the week before is plenty fine. There was a lot of people asking for exceptions. And I just kind of stood my ground and said, once you accept one exception, anyone can come. And I had someone ask if they could put a newborn in summer camp this year. And I was like, no, but that
Isn't
would.
there an age restriction on it?
There is, but they were trying to get an exception, and I was like, I can't, but that's why I stood strong, because you do one exception and then it's.
Was,
It also speaks to where
was
we are
most of
as
the
a community for
exceptions, other than the
needs.
newborn, revolving around their kid goes to Enfield, but they live in Canaan?
What other exceptions that they wanted or what?
No, the people that wanted the exception, I'm just curious, the ones that wanted the exception was a situation most of the time that their kid goes to Enfield, but they live in Canaan?
There was that, there was one, not to name any names, there was one that they're an Enfield resident. They have a friend going on vacation, and it's a couples retreat kind of thing. So they're watching their friend's kid for a week, and they're from Canaan. So she was thinking that she could register her child, which she already did for 6 weeks. And then she wanted to see if she could get that one in. And I was like, I wish, I get what you're doing, but we can't make that exception. One lady wanted, her daughter turns 5 at the end of camp.
Like
And-
August?
Yeah. And they were like, well, they're technically 5 before camp ends. Does that mean we can? And I was like, no, it's gotta be the start. So, just those kind of
Just those
little,
Yep.
yeah, which we all,
I'm surprised.
yeah, we all know that's gonna, you're gonna get those one or
Very
two,
common.
so not a big deal.
How are you doing on staffing?
I have one returner, who reached out. Our bookkeeper was sick the past 2 days. Otherwise, she has an email with a list of old camp staff that she's gonna pull their numbers off of the W-2. Which one do you?
What do we
fill out
get?
when you apply?
W2.
W-2. She's gonna grab their numbers off of them and then I'm gonna reach out. I heard that a couple kids who said they weren't gonna return because they were graduating college have not found jobs. So, one of them actually wants to be in teaching, and if he would come back, I would definitely put him as the assistant camp director. One, it looks great on his resume and only looks better for him getting a job.
And the
So,
director is a teacher.
what?
And the director of the camp is a teacher.
Yes, so I think it's, and he's been here years.
Yeah.
So he's been with Liz for, I think, 3 or 4, so.
Do you have any plans to get any of the staff CPR first aid trained?
I'm going to see what camp looks like with all new staff. Like, I would like to,
Sure.
100%. I would actually really like them to have at least one lifeguard trained, because then we can go to other lakes that don't have lifeguards. And we wouldn't have to reserve a spot for there to be a lifeguard. So it would also make it so if Johnston Drive or Johnston property turns into a park,
You could walk the road.
we could technically go every Wednesday to Johnston Park and be there, so. And we could also go to Chacoma if there were enough kids not there. Like, so one day they just wanted to go,
Well,
but
if you want more info on it, let me know.
yeah, no, for sure.
The CPR first aid stuff, I know for a fact that the UVAC can come to you.
Okay,
There's online coursework that's done the week leading up to the in-person class. The in-person class is usually about 2 hours, but they can come to you. You don't have to send them to the UVAC. Now, the lifeguard training has to be done after UVAC,
yeah.
because pools,
Mhm.
so.
We have connections with the PD too, with Keenan, who can provide BLS certification,
Oh,
so,
Thanks.
yeah. I mean,
BLS is
between the
good.
two of us,
Yeah.
we'll make sure that.
BLS is good.
I
it's
think,
Basic
like
life saving.
sport. Sports,
I would definitely like to propose to Ryan, if he is not already certified, and then whoever my assistant camp director. I'd like that to be part of the job, because I think one of those two are gonna be there at all time, and I think they need to be certified. I would take the class with them, because I plan on going on field trips with them this year, just as an extra adult.
Yeah.
So,
If you want to be BLS, let's link you in with Roy, because I believe we're gonna have a BLS coming up for the entire PD in May.
okay,
So just a heads up on that.
I'll holler at him when he comes
Yeah.
over and talks to Ed tomorrow.
Yes, yep, absolutely.
Park rental prices.
Hold on, got more.
Oh, sorry. Thought we had moved on.
No, you're fine.
My bad.
The market, which starts in 3 weeks, has, you'll learn. It has about 10, 15, which is average what they've had. We are looking for musicians, so if you have a friend who wants to play some music at the market,
Do you pay those
yeah,
musicians?
it's $75 market. So if you want to get your kazoo, did it.
Well, I was gonna suggest Brooks Hubbard. He's back in the area,
Way
but
too
he's
expensive.
really expensive.
Yeah,
compared
they
to that.
can't even get into the fair anymore. It's too expensive. Bummer. But
I mean, there's plenty of musicians there. I'm sure.
there's a guy from Hannaford, or not Hannaford, Hanover, that I would love to get. No con, but.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine
You
his
can't even get
artist.
tickets when you pay for it.
Yeah,
for this
his artist fees
concert.
are probably higher than Brooks.
I paid the price for tickets. It's my girlfriend's favorite artist, and when we moved up here and she found out where he was from, ugh.
Stalker.
No.
I mean, I can hit up my brother. He went to school with him. Noah Khan.
He's from
Stratford.
Stratford, but went
Went to
to,
Hanover.
Yeah, those surrounding towns.
and now he's like one of the top artists, like indie artists, indie alternative artist out there right now. His United States tour and Europe tour sold in 30 minutes. Stick Season, if you want to listen to a song that hits home, it'll hit you guys real good. Anyways, no, I'm done now. We're good.
Park rental prices?
So this is going to be kind of a discussion I wanted this committee to have, because I think you guys are a representation of the community and you can give a voice. We are going in front of the select board to get it finally approved, to be able to rent Hughes Park Pavilion and the Lakeside Park Pavilion. And I just kind of wanted to know what you guys think prices could be for each. I kind of already have a price, but me and Ed were talking and we said, hey, let's see what the community thinks. And if we're about the same price, then we should leave where we're at. But if we're talking like way off, then we need to review, because we ultimately want it. And your dad actually said this during that select board meeting. We want the rentals here in Enfield not to be so overly priced that our residents can't use them, because they're only for our residents to rent. So like how the community building is $100 for the whole day. You go anywhere else, that's a $400 rental, but we want it so anyone and everyone can rent it. So that's why we're just checking to see what others feel.
When you say full day, what's full day? 4 hours?
Basically 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night.
That's my question too, is are you going to chunk it into
It is gonna go
12
into,
to 4, 4 to 8?
yeah, it is gonna go like the community building is. There will be a 7 to noon, a noon to 5, and a 5 to 10 o'clock. They will, so the rules of the pavilion so far that I've come up with, they will have to follow all town ordinances. So if you're making noise after this time, if it is, if it's dark, our parks are closed. So that means that if it starts to become fall and someone wants to rent it the whole day changes from technically 7 in the morning when the sun's up to 5, 4 o'clock when the sun goes down.
This is for the Hughes Park Pavilion
And Lakeside.
in Lakeside. So would you just list it as sun up to sundown?
Yeah, pretty much. But have the time
Sunrise to
block
sunset.
rentals, yeah.
I like the idea of the chunks for the community building.
Mhm.
In my opinion, not that it matters much, I think that you could probably get away with, $65 to $75 per chunk. Being that you have to
Now,
set
is
up
that
and
for the
clean up.
community building or? for the-
Community building. I'm talking about community building right now for that. Because you have to set up and break down and clean up the whole
So
thing.
what would you feel if you did 75? You keep the $50 per hour for the rental, but that extra 25 goes into a fund that then funds all the repairs, all the issues with whatever rental. So like the community building needs a new floor. It doesn't need a new floor. It needs the floor refinished, which is 13,000-ish. And we're trying to get that done this year. So then that fund would pay for that.
So someone rents it from 7 a.m. to noon,
Mhm.
the community building,
70, with
$75
Plus
is what it costs them.
plus $150 refundable security deposit.
Okay, but $75 is what they're not getting back.
Yeah.
Internally, 50 goes to revenue and 25 goes to this capital repair, basically maintenance and repairs fund.
So can I ask what the $50 actually goes towards then?
It's more or less just paying for upkeep maintenance right now. What we're trying to get it more as the 50 would pay for our maintenance guy, for when he has to do things there. If things.
But wouldn't that be what the 25 is? Oh, no, I see what
25 would be
that's more of a
for-
capital
Yeah.
expense. And
So
not,
like the refrigerator is
Yeah.
20 some odd years old over there and is now leaking Freon where it needs refilled every 3 months, which is 1, not environmentally nice, and 2, it's expensive. So we need to replace the refrigerator and we want to get something equal value. It's $9,000. So
Almost.
that's what it would almost pay for. The 50 and stuff would go towards like building bills, cost, whatever is associated. I think power gets paid from it. I don't see the financials of the community building. That's not under me, that's under Miss Julie.
So do they currently charge rent or not?
For,
It is
Yeah.
For the
Yes.
community building?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
$100
it's-
for the day.
it's $100 for the day or $50 a time block.
And what's the percentage capacity?
How many can I have?
Yeah, well, no, how many, so,
How many events
how
do we
many,
usually
how
have
many
in
events per
one year?
week or year?
Per
or
Per, so it's used every single day, by at least one person. Every other Monday, the Girl Scouts use it. They pay a small price since they're a nonprofit.
what?
I have a improv group that uses it every other Thursday. And they're improvers from the Mascot area. And then there's usually 2 to 3 birthdays or other events on the weekend. So it's where there's at least 2 time blocks. Because we'll either have a 7 a.m. to noon birthday and a noon to 5 birthday, or a 7 a.m. to 5 birthday. So there's always at least 2 blocks full. So we're always making 100.
How does that work out when a birthday party ends at noon and another one starts at noon?
They are responsible for cleaning up. So it says in the rules that they know when they are to be out. They need
Got
to
it.
shut their party down and.
With enough time to clean up and get out by noon, so the other party can come in and set up.
Yep, otherwise they don't get the 150 back because the other party could then take pictures and send them to me. And then I can see that, hey, you didn't do your part of the agreement. That means.
So where does that money go if someone doesn't do that because the other people have cleaned up? I'm curious.
He sounds like
I don't know.
great questions for the budget committee.
I know it has gotten very lackadaisical with keeping the security deposit. Like, I don't think I've ever not kept. I don't think I've ever kept even $1 from that.
Is it your responsibility to maintain that security deposit system?
That's where it gets fuzzy, because we're supposed to be having someone go over and check the community building and report back. But that individual isn't necessarily doing that right now because they have too many other things on their plate. So when things get better, I was told it will be checked more, because that individual also works on the weekends for the town.
What if we have 2 events on a Saturday and, something should be checked in the middle of a Saturday and you don't have that person working, then we don't really have that resource available to be able to say,
We just hope they follow the rules and take the pictures.
It's the honor system at that point.
Yep.
Which
I mean,
most of our
hopefully,
parks
for
and
the most
facilities run
part.
on the honor
Which
system.
you would hope people would be nice to each other, since it's literally just Enfield residents that can rent it.
you would hope, but then, there's so many different areas of the community building when you're looking at, like, have the restrooms been checked? Have they been stocked? Has the actual, have pieces of the room been put away, like reset? Has it been swept? Has the kitchen been taken care of? Like, those are 3 completely different facets that all come into, like, if I'm paying for that, if I'm paying to rent this space, like, I would like to make sure that those things are available as a paying
Yeah.
member Enfield resident, like,
Understandable.
and so I guess that for me would be the expectation as an Enfield resident who is paying for that, and I see where it's stress for our staff to be able to maintain that because it's a weekend. Like, it's not, there's gonna be different priorities, especially on a Saturday, but like, how do you meet all of those needs and expectations? And especially if you're potentially like increasing the price, or I guess, kinda-
That's why we're really kicking the price of the community building. Because at this point, we just don't have the funds available to staff something like that, where they could check it. And the person currently in the position does not want to have to come in on Saturday because they had prior engagements, through personal interest. So we can't really demand that, which.
Is the kitchen allowed to be used?
Is there a checklist for people?
There is. Yep. There's actually a Bible over there, as I call it, that has all the rules and everything. Basically, so yeah, I can tell you what with the price thing, which we were kicking around, is we were thinking $200 for the day for Lakeside, which would buckle down to basically 75 per time block with a possible discount since you're using it for the whole day. And then $150 for Hughes Park Pavilion. And that would kick down to $50 a time block. It'd be the same as the community building. The reason we think Lakeside Park should be a little bit more is because it is on a lake. If you go to any of the state parks in New Hampshire, it's actually $200 an hour to rent on a lake.
Yeah, I actually didn't, when you said that, I didn't balk at the $200 for the Lakeside, because it's a brand new pavilion. It's got power, it's nice, it's got parking right there, it's got the lake access
They
right
wouldn't-
there,
they
rail
wouldn't be-
trail.
They wouldn't be renting the parking lot.
So
Sure,
there's
Only, so
what do they?
So part of the rules, part of the rules with renting an outside facility, and we are leaning hard on the state and their rules, because I just think they have a great layout. You are renting a facility in a public park. The renter should understand that they are in a public facility in a public park, and you cannot shut down a public park. It's a lot of repetitive word. That's why I say it slow, because it's sometimes confusing. But basically, if you are renting it, you have to understand you're in the public, you're renting something where the public can and will be at all times. So you can't shut it down.
So you wouldn't have exclusive access to the
Yeah.
parking lot, but you would have
They could use
access
it.
to the
They
parking.
could definitely.
But you also have the lakeside stuff there. I didn't balk at that price. The $150 for Hughes Park Pavilion.
See, if you,
here's,
the problem is if you go lower, you're technically, the Hughes Park Pavilion is then cheaper to rent than the community.
Which
Well,
is
yeah, but-
understandable because it's outside.
Yeah.
but I guess that's where I was going. So for what you're asking to pay, what you're getting is significantly different. Like when you're renting the community building, like there's a larger amount of parking. You have kitchen access, you have bathroom access. It's indoor,
Tables,
you know you're not gonna
chairs.
get rained out, tables and chairs. Whereas when you're outside, there are significantly less guarantees, like, you know, you can have the public literally walking, biking through exactly what you're doing, and you can't like ask them to leave. Like
Yeah.
that feels kind of flip-flops to me in terms of like what you're paying for and what you're getting.
Yeah.
Even though I very much see the value of the Lakeside Park and the Hughes Park Pavilion. Like I see the value of them, but I think comparatively to what we're charging for the community building, like that's where I'm like,
In my opinion, I think you'd be safe at $100 for the Hughes Park Pavilion for the day. It's not as nice as the other two facilities, and
So would you,
It's
just
smaller.
question, would you pay $100 to know that if you're gonna have one of your daughter's birthday parties there,
Mm.
paying $100, you know for sure that's yours, and that would be, you'd be okay paying that?
for Hughes Park, for the
Yeah.
pavilion only,
Yeah,
and for the day.
Yeah.
For whenever I want to start to whenever I want to end.
yeah, knowing that it's yours.
I don't think I
That's
don't
basically-
know if I'd pay $150, I'll be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what me and Ed want to, because it's like, we understand that the Hughes Park Pavilion is not gonna be rented for a wedding. It's not gonna be rented for something fancy. It's gonna be a birthday party, maybe a small family reunion, nothing crazy. So we just kind of want it where it's not really like we're making money off of people. We're
Mm.
just taking some money and saying, okay, we'll hold this for you, and then you know you have it. So when you send out those invitations to aunts, uncles, whoever, you know you have a spot for it. That's what we think would be best for the town, because it's just, like we said, we just want it so the town has a place to hold it.
And I think your price ranges are decent to allow that. Is the town going to have executive decision-making powers over the pavilion? Not the Hughes Park Pavilion, the Lakeside Park.
It'll be just like all of the rentals that the town will have.
You decide who it gets rented to, when it gets rented, the conditions surrounding the rental? There's no
Um,
outside group that's going to try to influence those things?
No. It is going to strictly be me.
What about, how do people know, like, say, you have it for a birthday party, the Hughes Park, and then some
when
randos
we-
are just like hanging out, like.
So when we get new, so this goes along with
Signage.
signage, which, there is meetings happening. Matt, you're in that with me. Would you say we probably already picked a logo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a new logo coming. It's Enfield's secondary logo. It just kind of kicks back to more of a modern, updated one without getting rid of that one. So once that's fully approved, you will start to see park signs changing because they're all gonna be unison. So there will be, I didn't bring it, it's in the other room. We have basically a board where you're gonna be able to slip in a reserve paper. And on the board, it's going to say this person has given the right to reserve from this time to this time. And it's basically just telling the public like, hey, you can be here, but if these people show up, unfortunately, they paid to reserve it, you gotta go. Which that will be, and I know Ed has talked to Roy, Ed was like, that could be a police involved thing if we have to ask someone to leave and they don't wanna leave. So it's gonna be just a partnership with rec and the police.
That was gonna
department.
be a follow-up, who's enforcing this? Because eventually you're gonna need
Well,
to.
and that's why we're going in front of the selectmen, because then they can approve
Hmm.
things, and if they approve things, then we can move it to, say, a town ordinance or a town, whatever, and then it can be enforced by everyone.
So question on, so we have a set of kind of like rules and checklists for the community building. Is that going to be the anticipated kind of expectation for Hughes Park and Lakeside Park?
I'm actually
rentals?
writing those right now.
Perfect,
That
okay.
it will, so what I am writing right now for that,
Mhm.
it will go in front of the select board. When's the next one?
A week from yesterday. No, 2 weeks from yesterday.
Whatever the first one is in May, that's when it is
Okay.
going in front of them.
Okay.
And we're gonna have some rental verbiage and stuff wrote up because there will be some things that will have exclusions to certain things.
Well, and I guess my immediate concern is like, I don't want people putting tons of poles and things to hang up things at Lakeside Park Pavilion, and the
Oh,
same with
yeah.
Hughes Park. Like, I would like to see things kind of respectfully maintained, but also, like if you're having a birthday party, you wanna hang things, like how do we, coach people to make better choices, like in the community
I
building where it's
do,
repainted, you
so-
don't wanna.
So I have the verbiage changed on most of those, that if you are to hang something up, it has to be those, glue drops. Those ones that are easy.
Say
to
the
peel.
poster ones.
Yep, or, command strips, are highly suggested for these facilities, just for the point that if we throw holes into the new Lakeside Park one, it could be an issue. Like I said, each park will have different rules. The Hughes Park one already has so many staples and nails and things in it that, as me and Ed have discussed, yes, we will say you can't do that, but are we gonna police it? Well, I don't know if we can really police it with the amount that's already in it. So we just would hope that people would be respectful, and just like how we say, don't hang nails in the community building, we just hope that they respect.
Here's a
that.
better choice.
Yeah.
Here's a choice that helps us maintain what we have
And
and
when-
allows you to use the
And,
space.
the way we will get these rules in front of people is when they make a request for these facilities, just like when they do for the community building, they actually have to go through the rules, just like every terms and condition thing you have to do, you have to do that to rent. So you can't sit here and say, oh, I didn't know that.
Well,
Well,
you're still gonna get that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's when we can look and be like, well, don't scroll through so quick. So,
It's my favorite part of my job is when someone's, that was never taught, and I'm like, is that your signature? Well, there you go.
so,
I
okay.
think the only question I have is like, so for the $25 that was proposed, it would take 520 rentals to equal $13,000, and that's the one thing that the community building needs this year. That's 520 rentals.
That's an average.
If we can, I mean, and that's not even including anybody that might rent at the nonprofit price or anything like that, like.
So I kind of think I know where you're going is like how, so that fund is not gonna be dipped into a lot. So what Ed's thought with that and kind of my thought is, you pay, like, right now, those blinds are so old that someone actually went to go shut the blinds. And you can see where the bracket literally crumbled. And like that, we don't want to really charge them because it's not their fault that those blinds are in there since the day that the building was built. So that would go pay for that $5 thing. So it's not like major things are going to be whacked out of it all the time. We think this fund will grow over time. And then you could say, if we need a new refrigerator, yes, there might only be $6,000 and we need, say, 9. At least we can put $6,000 into it and not have to find that $6,000 throughout the town's budget and start cutting and whacking lines to make it work. If that makes, does that answer, is that what you?
Yeah, no, I mean, actually, honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was the roof that was talked about being redone over and over and over again. And, you know, within the last year that's been done. But I can see we're having something accumulate like that, where it's not just taking one huge whack at the
Yeah.
budget. It's like, well, you know, even if it's $5,000 that comes from that and goes towards it,
Yeah.
it still benefits, you know, all of the residents that are paying for that service and all the people that
And
use it.
And
So,
it will ultimately, having something like this will keep it so it's easily accessible and funding, like, I don't want to say fundable, but like, it keeps the rental price down. So everyone still has an equal opportunity to rent it.
who gets control of the spending from that? Is it you?
That would be, so what Ed kind of thought, it would be something where you would have to go in front of like the select board.
Okay.
And say, hey, the refrigerator broke. Can we use that fund, empty that fund, and then use the rest of it out of the building fund? And that would be something that they would either say yay or nay on, and if they say nay, then we have to figure out where to go. Yeah.
So you could prompt it and then it would be brought to the select board, but if no one else would be able to charge things to that
Yeah.
line, for
But
example.
Ed said something also that it's an operation thing. So I don't know if he was thinking if that would be like a town, like.
Cause if it was a revolving fund, so like that money, like if you didn't say expend it by the end of 2023, you would still have it in 2024, so,
See, I didn't, and
yeah.
I
It
do
would
have.
have to be that.
Yeah, it would have to be revolving,
Makes
but
no
then
sense to-
you would,
You gonna liquidate it?
Yeah.
I would be interested to make sure that you have control of that mechanism.
Yeah. Well, I think it would either be myself or someone, whoever would be in Ed or Elisa's place.
Okay.
Because they're the ones who can say yes or no on operational things, but it doesn't have to have the select board approval. So I think they would have to, and Ed's a very, yes, I can just make the call and not go to the select board kind of person, but he always wants to double check with them and say, hey, I know I could spend this, and even if you guys say no, I can do it. He just likes to double check with them just to make sure everyone's on board, so you're not in a PR nightmare. So
Yeah, I think-
I think it would just almost be a double check with the selectmen.
My concern would be to make sure that it meets your criteria as the recreation director,
Yeah.
that it meets your criteria, that you are a part of that conversation, that you are a part of that decision. Like, that's what I would want
Yeah.
to see, is that, you know, your involvement, you know, both in establishing that fund and managing it, but making sure that expenditures from it are really in the very managerial periphery of it,
Yeah,
and not
and-
kind
and
of
we were
like,
just-
oh, I needed
Yeah.
to buy something for the building and it came out of that line.
Yeah, yeah, and we were just talking, like, Ed's not fully sure if he wants to do this, but I said, hey, you know, we've been kind of telling the rec commission we'd like them to move in a different direction, so I will take what you guys are saying and present it to him and see what he thinks.
I think it's a great plan.
Mhm.
I have a somewhat related question. What happened to bingo?
Bingo was moved to La Salette, which will now be moving out of La Salette and over to Pellerin Auto. There is a building or something going in that will almost be complete. The Pellerins own a building that it will be soon moved into, and it will strictly be.
And they run.
Bingo hall.
Doesn't she do, what's
She,
her name? I should know.
yeah,
Vicky.
Vicky runs bingo.
Yeah.
It's her favorite thing. The whole family does it. It sounds like her sons are forced to help. Like she was telling us all about it a couple days ago, and it was.
Why did it move from the community building?
Size. It be,
That big?
yeah, they
There's
had,
a ton of cars every
Yeah.
Tuesday night.
they get about 200 people plus, and you couldn't, and the
Even
community,
during COVID.
yeah, and the,
Yeah.
What are you all doing?
and the community building max is 250, and I would hate to see 250 people in the community building.
Well, they used to do it upstairs and downstairs.
Yes, and I just think that there's not enough room.
I went once with my in-laws who used to go religiously, and I ended up winning one of the bingo games. And all of the hardcore bingo players that were sitting around me
Oh,
were
so mad.
so
Oh,
pissed.
they
They were
must
like,
have been
"You never even come. You don't deserve it." And I'm like, "Dude, it's bingo. Like, you think I control this?"
We went to the Legion Bingo Hall in my hometown when we were in college just to try and make a few bucks for beer money.
Sure.
And when you win one and those people who are there religiously, ooh, you feel like looks could kill.
I definitely like pocketed the cash and walked out. I was like, "Bye. Sorry."
Well, that probably made him more pissed because you won.
Right? And I never came back. I think that all sounds great. All right, are we good to move on to next point here under your section is park rules?
We already kind of touched on it.
Okay, I didn't know if there was more to say.
To be
No.
fair, there was information that I should have brought to the
It's
meeting that I did not discuss with Roy. I literally looked
But-
at him yesterday and
but
I
we-
said, I need to talk to you about park rules.
But we also discussed that me and Emily kind of sat down and talked about this during work, about a week ago.
Yep.
And some of these things are just kind of things that we also want you guys just to kind of put in your brain, kick around if you're bored, shower thoughts, if you will. Because we can have a more in-depth conversation later down the road. As you've heard me kind of refer to Ed wanting the rec commission to kind of move in a different direction. He would like to see the rec commission be more almost like what Claremont has and New London, which you guys have their things. They kind of help advise the town with like what we should be doing, what things could be. Like one thing that Claremont's going through right now is trans athletes. They are kind of starting that conversation. Jamie knows all about it because he heard, yep. So, yeah, and we heard Justin kind of talk about it. I will say Mascoma has a possible case of it within the next couple of years. As a boy who is non-binary, so he goes and does girl things, but also does boy things. So if he wants to play a girl sport, mom or dad and dad are going to encourage it. And we had him in Whaleback. I had no issue. Obviously, I mean, trans, I don't really care in that situation, but that's just something, like I said, it something that we will down the road have to discuss in the commission, and that will be something that will advise myself, and if Ed's still town manager at that moment, or if I'm the rec director at that moment, it will be a conversation that they will lean on you guys for. So that's what this board's kind of looking at, and that leads in the bylaws, not to run your meeting for you.
I'm not very good at it. My only thing with the park rules was tobacco, alcohol, and firearms.
So that is with what Emily was gonna talk with Roy. All park rules are gonna follow town ordinances, and they are gonna be enforced. There is one rule that is going to be probably brought forth here that is gonna be discussed before we make the boards, which is the no exception, no dogs in parks. that this town
These
has.
are actually gonna be enforced.
Well,
I can tell you almost
yeah,
every other day at Shaker Field, there's
Yeah.
someone.
yeah, and it's a rule that is kind of being tossed around. Do they get rid of it? Do we keep it? What happens? Does it become one of those rules where it's allowed at Lakeside Park, it's allowed at Hughes Park, but at Shaker Ball Field, it's a special rule for that park where it's, which Ed has also said, he goes, I wouldn't mind not having dogs at that one, because number one, you have a dog park right next to it. So, and if you are gonna bring a dog, it should be sitting next to you, and it should absolutely not be on any playing surface, because we don't need a kid slipping in poo. So that would probably be like an exceptionary rule to a park.
What's the rule on firearms on town property? The only reason I ask is last summer I drove by Hughes Park. There was a group of people playing basketball. There was a full-grown man playing basketball with a bunch of teenagers, and he had no shirt on, and tucked into the front of his belt was a firearm. I don't have a problem with people carrying firearms at all. If they're right, great. But it's when they do it irresponsibly at a park where there's a bunch of kids playing. It would have taken nothing for him to get jostled, that falls out and goes off, and all of a sudden you've got a kid on the park who just got shot.
So
So that
unfortunately,
is why I asked,
when it
what are
comes to
rules?
state laws, what happens is that there are laws, but there are not very specific stringent sets on those laws. So individuals are allowed to carry. You don't get to tell them how they
Right.
carry. And unfortunately, like, that's where that's the difficult place. And I think that's, for me, somewhere that I'm constantly analyzing, where I work and what I'm thinking about and what I'm seeing. And so, again, it goes back to like, well, defensively by law, he's allowed to do that. Is it the best choice? I can't.
So what I'm hearing, if someone has a permit to carry a handgun.
You don't need a
actually
permit.
need a permit in New Hampshire.
You do not need a permit in the state of New
You don't need a
Hampshire.
permit to
So he
carry
doesn't
or
even have to
conceal.
holster it, he can put it in the back of his pants.
He could throw a
Yeah.
sweatshirt over it and you wouldn't have to have a permit. I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. In the state of New Hampshire, you can buy and set off fireworks, but you cannot set them off in Enfield. Because in the state of New Hampshire, they say, yeah, you can buy and own fireworks and possess them, but it's up to the cities and townships to determine whether or not it's legal to set them off. So if we're talking about going, oh, well, default to the state, that's fine, but there's a few examples where the state goes, yes, this is the law, but it's up to the town as to what they want to do.
I think firearms and fireworks are two very different
They are
things,
very different. I'm
and,
just saying
like, and I guess that's
scenario-wise.
where I'm like, I don't
State-
wanna pull into that line of thinking where, cause those are two very different things, and one does boil down to a constitutional right,
True.
which, like, and so that, like, and again, here we're crossing into borders that, for us as the commission,
No,
like,
not,
we gotta think about those things, and of course, working in the line of work that I work in, like, I
right.
have a different perspective just based off of the things that I see on a daily basis. And I do have some sayings that go along the lines of it's not illegal to be a tool. But quite frankly, that's the honest to God truth.
Yeah.
And, people who are going to be irresponsible is not enforceable.
Right.
So we have to think about that in terms of what does that look like, and also what level of support are we gonna have from our local enforcement to be able to do so? What does that look like? And, yeah. So, rules, tobacco, alcohol, firearms, those are all major things that are all different areas. I mean, if someone is gonna have a private party at Mascoma Lakeside Park, are they allowed to bring alcohol? Because it's a private party, they're paying for that space, but it's also in a public space. And like, so you're entering that realm of like, what is allowable, what is enforceable, like, where are those boundaries? And that honestly, it may be even best to have a member of the PD come in and talk to the commission about some of those rules and boundaries more directly instead of it like kind of coming from me.
So you're not a conflict of interest is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, yeah.
So what happens during when they have the, fair, they have the beer tent? Do they get a special permit?
They have to, yeah, they go to Ed, or Roy and they have to go to Roy and Ed, I think. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know that.
I thought it was an actual like liquor license that they
Yeah,
have
you
to
have to
hold
get
to be able to do
insurance
so.
and. don't-
Yeah, there's
like,
insurance and
insurance
liquor
and-
licenses and, but the
I-
liquor license has to be approved by the town, which
I
is why
know.
it goes through Ed and Roy
Yeah,
and.
there was some things kind of, someone asked about having a beer tasting on like the 4th of July at Lakeside Park, and I don't know what came of it, but yeah, I know they went and talked to Ed and Roy about it, so I don't know whether.
RSA 159-26 declares that that only the state, not cities or towns, may regulate firearms, and that any city or town ordinances about guns are null and void, except for zoning and hunting.
Well, you're in a free state or you ain't not changing that.
You were right.
And I'm so
She's like-
naive, like, I didn't even think about that, like, who would bring a gun to a park, like, clearly.
Well, I was like, really,
Good
dude,
job.
it was more the irresponsible, flagrant
Yeah,
irresponsibility that got my attention.
But, and that's kind of, again, that comes down to an observation. A lot of people who decide to carry do not do so that it is like there are plenty of people who conceal carry that can do so respectfully, responsibly, and you would literally never know that they were carrying
Right.
because they don't want you to know. Like that is not, and it,
I get it.
different folks. It's, yep.
Bylaws.
Bylaws. So Kevin thankfully provided some examples for us based off of kind of New London and Claremont. After reading over them, for my feedback, I know Claremont was a little bit more on the kind of larger scale end. They have more people, they have a larger township. And so I don't think that everything and all of those things apply, but I think there were some good ideas and concepts that were brought forward in it. I think New London is definitely more kind of scaled towards kind of where we are, size wise,
Yeah.
both as a town and as a commission. I don't know what what it is legally to be able to just kind of be like, hey, those look like they fit for Enfield. How do we just kind of like merge those in and fit that? But I also don't want to take too many shortcuts and say like, oh, copy and paste.
and bylaws, not to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
bylaws are a pretty big thing, and I think this commission has achieved many goals that were set forth by the commission, and I mean, me being probably one of the bigger ones, I think these are something that, I mean, we can talk about tonight. I don't think it needs to necessarily be decided on, because it is something big. The Claremont one basically was thrown in there because I had someone standing over my shoulder who was highly involved in those. So he thought they were really good, and they are good. And the cool thing about the Claremont ones, if you guys do or have questions, I have a pretty good relationship with Justin, who's the rec director for Claremont, who deals with their rec commission. So if you guys are interested to see, or, we can also reach out to them and say, hey, what else do you guys do? And just kind of, this is Ed Morris's whole, like, he just thinks this commission is something very important to the town and can be a voice for the town. And he just wants to see it around for a while and setting all this stuff up and heading in the direction now that the commission should be going with. Because as he says, you guys should be working on a lot more besides an egg hunt. Like sitting here and discussing for an hour, like, about an egg hunt. Yes, you guys should be able to talk about events, like how they go, what are you guys hearing? But like, you guys should be dealing with bigger things and things that can really help grow, shape the town of Enfield.
On a side note, you crushed the egg hunt.
I tried.
That was great.
That was awesome.
It was great. It was
That
awesome.
was my first ever egg hunt.
It was great.
Which, I mean, it's pretty much just, figure it out, but
I need to do a better job hiding the golden eggs next time.
No. I think you did. I think you actually did great because the last one was found 10 minutes roughly before, and you told them possibly.
Is this going on
You
the
hinted.
record?
You hinted.
No, look, I straight up told him. So
I mean, it's okay.
there was
you
a
looked at the
special needs
situation.
student, child person in front of me in the bunny line. And, I was thinking about it. I knew the other ones had been found and I didn't think the one in the sandbox had been found. And so I went outside as they left and I walked up to whoever the woman was with him and I was like,
Wow.
so there's one golden egg left and it's buried and it's on the playground and there's only one place that I can bury things on the playground. So you should go over there. And you know, a few minutes later, I saw him posing with it for pictures.
I
and
saw
like,
him coming up to Kevin and showing it to
I
him. And the
know,
look
and
on
I was
his
just like,
face was
and
just
bingo,
priceless.
my kids don't need that.
Yeah.
That kid
And it-
needed that.
And they posted that on social media, and there were a couple other, like developmental disability organizations that shared it. So,
Awesome. I was cool breaking the rules for him, I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I was like, nah, I'm gonna make an executive decision here now.
no, and
The
those,
glow on his face was priceless.
and those are the decisions that I think this commission or anyone that's helping with an event, if that decision comes down to it, I think it's one that we should all be not afraid to make, because one, it's like, that's what these events are for. They're not really for making, like how Ed said, they're not really for making money or doing anything like that. It's for, you know, the positivity in the community, so.
Regardless,
But I think it
you
was
did
fun.
a fantastic job.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else about that stuff? Anything?
Yeah, did you guys have any questions about the bylaws? Did you have any questions about like what we should be thinking about? We kind of just sent these out so everyone could kind of think about them, look at them.
Why don't we, put it on the agenda for
Yeah,
next
we
time?
could look at them.
No, that's fine.
Bring talking.
Yeah. No, and these were just good examples of kind of what's
Am I an
out
editor
there.
on this?
I think everybody is, but
Okay.
I'll make sure you are.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, yeah, I think we put
everybody is
the, we should put the bylaws on next agenda. In the meantime, we should all try to take a look at it and see, if you haven't already, maybe take another look if you have. I have a question. When you said, please mark your calendars for, is that because I text you every single time we have a meeting, asking if we have a meeting?
No.
Okay, because I totally text her every single time, like, are we meeting tonight? Is it 6:30? And she's like, yes. So on the agenda, there's this list of days, like, hey, Matt,
No,
write these
that was a
down.
recommendation from Ed, because he goes, you can put that on your thing. And then, when people say, oh, I can't make it, you'd be like, well, you actually knew about it for
Yep.
some time. Is that what it's from?
Honestly, so I put everything out in my calendar as I know. Like I put everything in my calendar. Like as soon as I get a new planner, like that is me. I'm putting everything in it. And I had written everything out and I'm like, you know, maybe it would help everybody instead of just thinking like, I need to remember the third Tuesday of the month if I just wrote it out and had it on the agenda and everybody can see it. Like, so honestly, it was intended as a kindness tool because I know I need those things and the third Tuesday of the month can sometimes fly right over my head. So it was pure
I saw it
like,
and was like, yeah, that's.
here's the
good to
dates,
me.
peeps. This is what we got.
So not to pick on you, don't you have a calendar and
I
your thing?
do, I absolutely do. No, there's no excuse for me being ignorant of
Here,
this.
you can take this. But
You
anytime
should hang it up at work.
Oh my
That
God,
we have
it's
a
in the,
meeting.
it's printed in the calendar. All right, yep, that's going up at work. Oh, that's
I'll
so
tell you,
bad.
the only reason I know that that's on that calendar is because the one at my desk reminds me that there's a meeting and I'm like, oh yeah, I got that
Brilliant.
circled.
This is great. Okay, yep.
So I'm the owner,
Realistically, I'm just
everybody
gonna
is an
have this.
editor under this,
All right,
so.
great. That way I can just
Yeah.
copy and paste and build the next one. Is there, because I'm ignorant to this, is there a legal timeline when I have to have the agenda out before the next meeting? Like, is there like, you have
48
to have the agenda out
hours.
So it's 48 hours for that.
before the meeting? The
Yes.
agenda has to go out before the meeting.
It has
48
to, it
hours.
has to be to me
Okay,
and posted 48. So if you wanna, Amy, you'll need to know these two. So 48 hours before the meeting, it has to be to a town official so it can be posted.
got it.
And then after our meeting, And the notes have to be submitted within 5 days of the meeting being adjourned.
Submitted to,
A town official, so we can post them.
we've been submitting them to Lisa.
No.
No, they have not been submitted to.
Working
Who have they
day?
been?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too.
Five, yes, five.
5 business days?
Five business days, yes.
Okay.
Yes, so us would be by the next Tuesday after.
Would it be appropriate for us to send you the minutes as the town official, or
Yeah,
should we
no,
be
no.
sending it to someone else?
If, I would prefer you send it to me, so that
Done.
it doesn't, because I'm the one who posted on the website.
Yep, done.
So that's the best. And they don't have to be perfect. If it's minutes for the meetings, you say like you just type that up in like 5 minutes. You don't actually have to spell check it or anything, because that's us going and approving the minutes. Because all I have to do with 5 days after the meeting is at least get a draft of the minutes. Like if you go look at Johnson Property Use Committee, their last meetings are draft because we haven't had a meeting to
Finalize them.
finalize them or vote them,
Right,
Yeah.
approve them.
approve them, yep, approve the minutes.
Great.
That's all in that book if you'd like to, no, just kidding.
Exactly.
No, you're good.
I don't have the agenda in front of me anymore, but
Oh,
I think
we're
that's
good to-
about it.
Yeah, we're good. to-
Yeah, you covered everything.
I guess if we wanna have one action item for everybody to just look at the bylaws and see, like, just circle 1, 2, 3, like, circle what you think is pertinent to the Enfield Recreation Commission. You know, kind of our vision for ourselves, and then we can bring that forward to the next meeting and we'll kind of cobble together what we see. Is that,
That sounds good.
and that way it's like kind of
Yep.
one action item, we
Yep.
all look, we all pick, we bring it to the table for,
Give some structure to the discussion.
yeah.
Yeah. Great. Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is now officially adjourned. Wait, I get it right. This is not gonna be good, folks. I shouldn't have come out so strong.